Hey, everybody, it is Trags Mike Petraglia back with you for another episode of Red Sox Beat on the CLNS Media Network. My old friend Alex Barth from 98.5 The Sports Hub is joining us once again to talk Red Sox and finally the start of the 2022 season. Of course, follow Alex on Twitter at @RealAlexBarth, all one word. Lo and behold, we have a season to talk about. It's underway. The Red Sox dropped 2 of 3 in New York to the Yankees. They dropped that kind of ugly, depressing game to watch on Monday in Detroit after the rain delay before maybe 500, 1,000 people. Red Sox lose that in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Tigers score twice. Red Sox dropped that contest by a score of 3-1. They are 1-3 on the season. Of course, they started 2021. A season in which they won 92 games, losing 3 games to the Baltimore Orioles. So let's not panic yet. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but we are going to talk about some of the pluses and some of the minuses in the first 4 games of this 2022 campaign. And first of all, Alex, I want to get your impression on why you think the bats have started in a bit of a slump.
I mean, it feels like that's always the case, right? And I don't know. I'd like to say, there's a shorter spring training and that's throwing guys' timing off, but you see it around the league that teams are hitting, right? So right. I don't think it's not like it's nobody's hitting, so whatever. It's just guys got to ramp up into it. It feels like it's hit the Red Sox the worst. I saw the stat last night. I believe they're hitting 174 as a team, which ranks 29 out of 30 teams. So it's an anomaly.
Okay, let me jump in there. The bigger concern, when you rattle off a stat like that to me is pretty arbitrary. They started 2 for 21 with runners in scoring position. That is more alarming to me than the overall batting average.
I hadn't seen that, but you're right. That's, when you add that context, I think that's a more important number to look at. It's tough to tell. They haven't had Trevor Story in the lineup, who's supposed to be one of their bigger bats, but he started. I don't think he has a hit yet, right before he got sick.
It's a good question. I can double check real quick, but continue talking and I'll get back to you on that.
It's just, I don't know if it's the shorter camp. I don't know if it's they're playing in the cold. I don't know if they're doing all these weird things with the lineup, like that lineup you had yesterday. It's Arauz, it's Travis Shaw, it's guys you're not expecting to be in the starting lineup, right?
I think part of that, Alex, is to get guys' feet wet collectively so that they're not waiting a week or two as the season is underway to finally get some game action. I think and a lot of managers do that. By the way, Trevor Story, 1 for 8 to start the year. That's a 125 average. He does have a 1 hit. It was a double. So that's it for Trevor Story so far.
So, yeah, I mean, it's almost like we haven't seen enough of it to really judge. I don't know that they've gone up against amazing pitching. I mean, obviously you got Garrett Cole, but they hit him well. Garrett Cole's like the one pitcher they hit well this year, right? Oddly enough. So it's hard to really put your finger on it right now. It could be any number of things.
Let's talk about the game yesterday. They again leave a lot of runners in scoring position and can't get the big hit when they need it. It was good, though, to see J.D. Martinez finally leave the yard. The first hit of the day in the top of the 5th inning was a home run from J.D. Martinez. It's good to see that for the Red Sox. They're going to need his bat throughout the season. And I think this is a team, once the weather warms up, we always say this, right? Once the weather warms up, they're going to hit. The starting rotation, the pitching staff in general, I'm still concerned about it. To me, without question, the number one concern coming into the year was the pitching staff. People will debate whether or not it was the starting rotation or the bullpen. I would say both. You've seen Nick Pivetta, Nathan Eovaldi, Michael Wacha, who pitched on Monday in Detroit, and Tanner Houck. I liked what I saw from Tanner Houck, even though he did give up 6 hits and 3 runs on Sunday night. I like I'm going to stick with Tanner Houck. I'm a Tanner Houck guy. And then we're going to see Rich Hill on Tuesday in Detroit. So, that starting rotation is what it is. It's 5 warm arms, but I don't know until Chris Sale gets back, who's going to really step forward.
Yeah, and I like Houck too. He's not consistent enough for me to really linchpin him in there. I think he needs to be more consistent. You talk about, well, you're more worried about the rotation or the bullpen because they do this opener thing and they have some guys in that rotation that aren't going to eat innings, and there's some guys that could pitch bullpen or start. Like, it's both. It's all tied together. To me, they have 1 to 2 legitimate big boy got-to-have-it arms on the roster right now. Garrett Whitlock is one, unquestionably.
Yes.
I think Garrett Whitlock's the best pitcher on this team. That extension was outstanding.
I still agreed.
I still think he should be in the starting rotation. I'm going to keep saying that. By the way, I'm only going to say it louder if and when Chris Sale comes back, because I think Chris Sale should be the closer. But after that, I think between Eovaldi and Houck, between the two of them, you have one front-end starter. They're just both so inconsistent that are they both going to be that guy at the same time? I don't know. So I call them each a half. So 15 pitchers on the roster with this expanded roster, right? 28 players, 15 pitchers. You got 2 guys that you feel really good about. That's not enough. And look, I know the bullpen actually statistically pitched okay through the first 4 games, but man, did you feel good with Jake Diekman out there? The guy's nickname is Grind It Out, as they told us over and over again on the broadcast. I didn't. You feel great with Ryan Brazier out there? How did you feel about Hansel Robles out there pointing at the sky?
Okay, back up. We got to slow down. We got to slow the old Alex Barth train down as it's coming through the stockyard. If you watch Jake Diekman on Sunday night, right?
Yeah.
He went 1, 2, 3 through the heart of the order, striking out the order. That was, I don't know how you expect him. I don't know how you expect him to be any better than that. The concern with him is the fact that he's 35 years of age. And, you bring up his numbers here, and I've got them right here. Diekman is somebody that, he's 35, as I said. He's been in 2 games, and he's in an inning and a third. He has 3 strikeouts. He has the 1 walk. He's given up 1 run. It was unearned. I think he's somebody that, he's a left-handed arm that is going to give a different look to that bullpen in the back end of the bullpen. They need somebody to step forward. How do you read Cutter Crawford so far, Alex?
He's encouraging. I like what I've seen. So when I say they have 2 legitimate got-to-have-it pitchers, I don't mean everybody else is a bum, but this kid's still really young, right? I think he debuted last year very briefly, but he's new to this, and in that spot with Diekman, right? And I like them going to the veteran there. I'm not saying that was the wrong move. How is what is he, 25, 26-year-old, hasn't really pitched in the majors, going to handle that? He might be 28, but
who? Cutter Crawford?
Cutter Crawford, yeah.
He's 26.
He's 26. Okay. How's he going to handle that spot, right? How's he going to handle that big spot? If he gets up there and there's, it's Aaron Judge, it's Giancarlo Stanton, it's Vladdy Jr., right? How is that moment going to go for him? So I like what I've seen so far. I think they have guys who can pitch. I think it almost reminds me of what the Patriots receivers have been for the last few years. They've got professional caliber talent. I don't think that there's a lot of guys in that bullpen that don't belong in the majors, but you don't have that linchpin guy. You don't have that guy you can lean on. You don't have that got-to-have-it guy outside of Whitlock who's might be the closer, but that's not the best role for him. You need him pitching multiple innings, right? So that's where my hangup is. They've got some guys that I like. I like Phillips Valdez. I like Sawamura. I think they can both get you a couple outs in the 6th or 7th inning if you need them, right? I like Robles. I think Robles has shown an ability to come in and get outs, but not consistently enough. All these guys, they either don't do it consistently enough, they have injury problems, or they're just so young that you don't know what it's going to be like when the lights really get turned on for them. There's not one guy besides Whitlock that I feel like, yes, put him in, the game is in good hands. There are a lot of close games, right? Whether up or run, down or run, whatever, right, over the last 4 days. And outside of when Whitlock was in the game, you're holding your breath because you don't know what's going to happen. That's more what it is for me. It's the unpredictability of the bullpen. I think there's potential. I think they have some guys who can pitch, but it's just, it seems like a very volatile group. Like, for instance, you talk about Diekman, right? I have Diekman's numbers here. You go back to the last few years. Last year, 3.86 ERA in Oakland. The year before that, 0.42, very good, although only in 21 innings. Before that, 4.65, 4.73, 2.53, 3.40, 4.01. He comes and goes. He comes and goes. You don't necessarily know what you're getting with him. And they found pitchers in their mid to late 30s before and turned them into studs. We all remember Koji. That's kind of a 1 in a million. I don't know that Diekman's going to be Koji, but at the same time, they've done this before. We just don't know. And that's what makes it so scary.
All right. Garrett Whitlock. I think, you referenced it, them, locking him up for a 4-year extension. This year, he's making $720,000. After this year, 4 years, $18.75 million. To me, that's a steal. And I give all the credit in the world to VP of Baseball Operations, baseball president, Chaim Bloom. 1.2 million next year, 3.5 the next, 5.5 in 2024, and the final year of the deal, 2025, $7.5 million. Don't you think that's a steal?
It really is. I mean, for a top end pitcher, and again, all the more reason you got to put this guy in starting rotation. That money for a top end starter is unbelievable.
We don't know that he's a top end starter yet. He's 26.
Yeah, but he has the potential to be.
Okay.
I think you have to.
Difference.
I think you have to at least find out. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. Not to dig back in my own narrative. You're right. It's whatever he ends up doing. Even if he's a closer, what did Barnes' extension go for last year? That was what, 12 per, I think.
Have it here and just give me 1 minute. Keep talking.
Okay,
Matt Barnes, I got it.
I did.
It was 2 years, $18.75 million for this year and next year with an opt-out in 24.
Yeah, I did so much. I did all the research I need to for the show, clearly. Yeah, you look at that money, and Barnes was obviously an all-star closer last year when he signed that extension. He fell apart in the second half, but the ink was already dry at that point. Whitlock last year was an all-star caliber pitcher. He didn't get in, but I mean, he had a 1-something ERA. His strikeout ratio was enormous. Like, that's to compare those two deals. It's an absolute runaway steal for the Red Sox. I'm surprised Whitlock signed it. Now we kind of see the other
also, but
we hear about Red Sox lowballing their own players all the time. Maybe this is why, because 1 in every 10 times, 1 in every 20 times it works, right? But great deal, to go from a Rule 5 guy coming off Tommy John to getting, we talk about it being short money. That's in MLB terms for Whitlock. He's set for life now. So you got to be happy for him for that, given where he came from, where he was just 2-3 years ago. So,
no kidding.
Yeah. I thought it was a great contract. Excellent job by Bloom. And I think it can go up to 6 years, right? There's 2 option years.
That is correct. I don't have the numbers here on that. No, I don't have the numbers. I'm not going to project something I don't know about. I just don't have it in front of me. But anyway, great job by Chaim Bloom. They've got pictures in that bullpen and on the rotation that project as good. I just don't know if they're going to be good enough in this division. And I think Toronto is going to be just a monstrous team this year. And to me, they're the favorites to win the division. That's not really breaking any news. I think the Yankees, if they're healthy, we saw over the weekend what they're capable of doing. They have just as much explosiveness as any team in baseball. Any impressions from you on the Yankees over the weekend?
Yeah, I don't know that I was as wowed. They were old. That's an old team. Not to this extreme. They kind of remind me of the Lakers. There's a lot of names we know as good players, but are they still good players? Like DJ LeMahieu has not been the player he was 4 or 5 years ago, right? Garrett Cole he's still at times, you see those flashes, but ever since the spider tack thing, it's been an issue for him, right? Rizzo obviously always hits well against the Red Sox. So like down the stretch last year, he wasn't great. We'll see what Joey Gallo is. So I think they kind of remind me of the Red Sox, where the potential's there. It's just, I don't know if they can do it consistently enough. The scary thing for me is if they are going to win, they're going to win hitting the baseball, right? Because when those guys are on, Gallo, Rizzo, the whole Yankee line, like they can hit. Stanton, Judge, thank you, duh. the Jays, obviously they can hit the crap out of the ball too. The Red Sox are designed to win games 11-8. And in a division full of teams that are also trying to win shootouts, that can get a little rough. And the Red Sox probably have the worst bullpen of the three teams. That is the one thing I'd say the Yankees have definitively over the Red Sox. They have a better bullpen.
And that was the irony of Sunday night is the Red Sox bullpen outperformed the Yankee bullpen, not by a lot, but enough to make a difference. By the way, it sounds like Aaron Judge, they're not going to extend him anytime soon, and he's going to hit free agency.
No, why would they? Teams don't extend good players in Major League Baseball, apparently, except the Pirates out of nowhere. Cabrian Hayes, the first time ever spending money.
I love that deal. Smart deal by Pittsburgh.
Good for the fans to actually get to see a player hit the age 30 in their city. When's the last time that happened?
Joey Votto, Cincinnati.
Oh, no, I was saying in Pittsburgh.
Oh, in Pittsburgh. Boy, go back to the old the lumber company days. You have to go back that far. I can't remember last time. Even in Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla days, they didn't extend their players. Obviously, that's why Barry Bonds left for the Giants.
Right. No, they've never. Like my brother went to school in Pittsburgh, and he kind of pseudo follows the Pirates, and he was explaining this to me that they just don't. They don't keep any homegrown talent. If a player's elite, it's not even that. Oh, they keep one here or there. There's nobody. I just looked it up. McCutchen played his year 30 season in Pittsburgh and then got let go. So they got to see Andrew McCutchen just barely turn 30, and that was it. So I'm happy for those fans. Brian Hayes is a good player too. So
eventually they have to get things turned around, and in Pittsburgh, they're hoping to do that with their pitching. We're talking contracts. You know what that means, Alex. We got to bring up the number one story in Red Sox land over the weekend. June Lee reported this for ESPN.com right around opening day, actually right on opening day last week. And that was the fact that apparently Xander Bogaerts not pleased with the Red Sox, and he is looking for elite shortstop money, and the Red Sox priority is Rafael Devers. None of that surprises me. Not anything that I just uttered in that sentence surprises me. You?
No. And look, I think that they should try to bring back both. If you have to pick one, it's Devers. It's obvious.
Yes, I don't think that's any question. Just based on
I think Trevor Story signing was the writing on the wall. Again, it would have been cool to have all three. You add Casas to that, you might get the best offensive infield in baseball for 4 or 5 years, whatever it may be. We talked about this last time I was on. I think they should be able to sign both. There's no other big contracts on the horizon. Like Casas might be the next one, and at that point, Bogaerts' deal might be over. But
right,
if they have to prioritize one, it's Devers. That being said, they have to sign Rafael Devers if they're going to let Xander Bogaerts walk. You can't lose both.
No. And Rafael Devers is off to the kind of start that Red Sox fans would like to see. 1 home run. He's got 2 doubles, 5 hits overall in 16 at bats. He's hitting .313. His OPS is .978 through 4 games, whatever that means. But I don't think there's going to be any slowing down. One thing I did notice, and we saw it on Monday again, Rafael Devers has some range now, especially to his left. And that play he made in the middle part of the game on Monday was very, very impressive. And, if he can make those plays, then absolutely he gets his wish of wanting to stay at third base.
Yeah, and I think he looks trimmed down a little bit. So I wonder if that was a focus for him in the offseason, just becoming a little more athletic, being able to move around a little bit easier. Yeah, if he's going to start fielding like that, he's going to break some records with that contract. Like it's going to be something special. So
he's 25. That's what that's the key to it all.
Right. It's going to be, so you can give him a 10-year contract and he still might come out of it a potentially top free agent. We see guys play well till they're 35, 36 now. I don't see how you can't pay him. We talked about this last time I was on, right? The Red Sox like to throw that company line out there when they're going to make a move and let everybody know, right? We heard with Mookie Betts, it was the draft picks. We're starting to hear now with Xander that they're worried about his defense. I was talking to somebody over the weekend about this. They said it might be Devers' weight, but like I just said, I think he's lost weight.
So I asked Rob Bradford I asked Rob Bradford of WBEI this last week on the Red Sox Beat podcast, and he said, well, last year he reported to camp in even better shape than he is this year. And he's made an effort to certainly trim down, and he knows that the conditioning is a big part of what he needs to improve upon as part of his game. And I think he was serious about it. And the other thing Rob mentioned was, you're going to be able to now, with the pandemic pretty much in the rearview mirror and us getting more access in the clubhouse and being able to go in the clubhouse and talk to these players, you're going to be able to get an idea of what these guys are doing day to day to keep themselves mentally and physically in the game.
Right. So again, there's zero reason. There's zero reason to not pay Rafael Devers whatever he wants. He's going to be worth it
within reason. I mean, are you talking? He's not going to get Mike Trout money. He's not going to get Tony money.
But highest paid third baseman in baseball, that feels realistic.
I mean, I should have done more homework coming into this podcast. But who are the highest paid third basemen in baseball?
Well, Jose Ramirez just signed that new contract, right?
Yes.
5 years, $124 million. I mean, he's significantly older, but
Rafael Devers is getting more money than Jose Ramirez, right?
Well, he's 10 years. I mean, I think 10 years, 300 million at least.
Yeah, I think that's ballpark. I think that's, or even 8 years. I think Devers probably would take no less than 8 years guaranteed on his next contract. That would put him at 33, correct?
Yes. Well, I think the question is, does he want to hit free agency again, or does he want?
Correct.
And in different places, some players feel differently about this, right? He may want 10. He may want 12 years. He may say, I don't want to. I want to be locked up. I want to be good forever. Or he may say, you know what? I'd like to hit free agency again in my early 30s, and I don't want the long-term deal. So, and I do either way. Whichever way, you keep him here for a long period of time. Anthony Rendon is currently the highest paid third baseman in baseball. He's making $36 million.
That's a lot, though.
This guy's going to be an MVP candidate, Devers. If he stays healthy, he's going to be an MVP.
I agree. And, if that's the case, then, and if you're the Red Sox and you want to save some on the AAV, the average annual value of that contract, I think you're going to have to give him a long-term deal and see if, Devers will bite on it.
Right. The other thing is Rendon, I'm looking to see when he signed this deal. I think it was somewhat recently. Yeah. So he signed that deal. It was 7 years, $245 million. He signed that at age 30.
Boy, that's a lot of dough.
Devers is 25.
Devers is going to get more than that. I think you're right.
It's going to be a record-breaking contract.
I think it's going to be 10 years. Because 10 years, $300 million is probably very close to the ballpark that Devers is going to be looking for. I would that give him $30 million a year. And what's Rendon getting?
36. So $30 million a year is actually underpaid. It might be more like 10,350. $30 million a year would time with Machado. He'd be the third highest paid third baseman in baseball.
I'm not saying he's Pablo Sandoval, but I think in the back of the Red Sox mind, they privately would tell you if there's one concern about Rafael Devers, it's his weight, it's his conditioning, right? I mean, are we on the same page there, Alex?
Yeah. Well, so hang on. So I'm digging into this. So here's the comp, because I was going to say, how many guys, with the way teams manipulate service time, how many guys really become free agents at 25? Manny Machado at 26, 10 years, $300 million.
Yep.
And he was a comparable player. He was in the MVP debate.
Yep.
I think he won one at that point. He might have.
I don't know.
No, but he'd been a multi-time All-Star at that point, a Silver Slugger, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that's a great comp.
Right. It's somewhere between there. So there is a little bit of a drop-off here as I'm looking at it. It's
10 years, Rendon's 325.
Yeah. So Nolan Arenado's making $35 million a year. He's the second highest paid. Machado's making 30. He's the third highest paid. I think somewhere between those two. I don't know what that Rendon contract is. That feels like an outlier. I think I'm missing something in here, but it's backloaded. That's why.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So somewhere between 30 and 35 million a year over 10 years, I think, is the deal for Devers.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Red Sox are going to sign him maybe even before the end of the year to a 10-year, $325 million deal.
That
sounds right to me.
30. Yeah.
What?
I was going to say 10, 330.
All right, 33 million. What's an extra 5 million amongst friends, huh?
Well, for the Red Sox, that I could see them getting caught up in that, but they shouldn't.
If they want to keep Devers, they're going to have to spend. And I think that is absolutely the sign that that's the end of Xander Bogaerts in Boston. I don't think there's any question about that. It'd be interesting to see whether or not the Red Sox decide to move on from Xander sooner than later. That's the next discussion you have to have, right, Alex?
Yeah, well, so I mean, supposedly he doesn't want to talk during the season. I know that's kind of a negotiation.
No,
tactic,
but I mean, would the Red Sox move on? Would they trade him?
Oh, not during the year. I think you got to keep him for the extent of this year. Bogaerts, maybe, if they're struggling.
No. I meant Bogaerts.
Oh, sorry. You cut out for a second. The internet.
Sorry. No. I meant. Don't blame your crappy headphones on the quality.
No, it's your internet.
Question.
It's your internet.
Okay.
I
meant Bogaerts. I think would the Red Sox decide to move on from Xander Bogaerts sooner than later?
I think they could under the right scenario. I think the right scenario is the team is struggling. I think for them to trade Bogaerts this year, Trevor Story has to be playing well because we know how PR conscious they are. The spin has to be there that, we have, we can move on because we have our next shortstop, right? If Trevor Story's still hitting like $180, which I don't think he will be come July, but let's say he is, they won't do it because they don't have the guy. And then I don't know, they'll figure it out in the offseason, but I think there's a situation happens. I do think they'll be better than that. I think they'll be at least in contention come the deadline, and they won't move Bogaerts if they have a chance to win it because you got to capitalize on the team you have right now with this window, especially since you could lose Bogaerts and Devers. But it wouldn't be the craziest thing that's happened. Or you know what? Let me take that back.
Okay.
Even if they are in contention, if they really need something, they moved Nomar when they were in contention.
Yeah.
And now that's now multiple GMs ago and decades ago. But
the other thing I would say about that is Nomar was starting to lose value very quickly. And I think they saw that. Xander Bogaerts is not losing value. I think he's still a premier top 5 shortstop in baseball. Very much so. I mean, he doesn't have the range of some other shortstops. He's not, Correa by any stretch, but he's still a very exceptional talent in this game. And I, think they would like to hold on to him. But if the right situation came along and they were in need of something and they felt like they could restock their bullpen or they could restock another part of their lineup that was really failing, perhaps a first baseman, perhaps an outfielder, who knows?
Right.
But if they felt like, or add a starting pitcher, obviously, if they felt like they could do that and it made sense to them, I think they'd consider it. I'm with you, though. I think it would be hard for them to move on from Xander Bogaerts in the middle of the season.
Yeah. So I will, it's the old Belichick thing, right? Move on a year too early versus a year too late. They traded Nomar when he was 30. Bogaerts is 29. And I know you said like Nomar maybe was losing value. He was hitting 321 when they traded him. And I don't remember this as analytically because I was 10, but he was hitting 321. He was slugging 500. He didn't have a lot of home runs, but he had a lot of extra base hits. If they, like you said, they need a starting pitcher, they need an outfielder, and Trevor Story's
by the way,
out of the ball.
What did Nomar do after he left Boston? His numbers dropped off precipitously, didn't they?
He had one good year. So he was okay with the Cubs. He hit 297 the rest of 2004 after the deadline. He had 283 the next year. He was an all-star his first year in LA. He hit 303 with 20 home runs, 93 runs driven in. And then it pretty much dropped off from there, 283, 264, 281 that one year in Oakland. But he's playing 50 games at that point.
Right.
He kind of pulled the Drew Bledsoe. Remember, Bledsoe went to Buffalo, was a Pro Bowler 1 year, and then it just sort of – so they missed 1 year. They missed an all-star year in Omar, which all things considered was probably about right. Again, I'm reading off the stats. There might be other context here I'm missing. I was 10, but yeah.
Anything else on your mind you want to talk about, want to hit on with the Red Sox that I failed to address here?
Why do they have one night game in the first 2 weeks?
That's a great. I'm guessing it's because of the weather, and it's because of in Detroit. They figure that the fans would come out because there's a day game on Tuesday, there's a day game on Wednesday, which is very odd. And then they had a 5:05 scheduled start, but of course the rain pushed that back more into a traditional evening game on Monday. But I think they want more kids coming out, or they want more fans coming out to the games during the day, because they don't, feel like they're going to draw as much at nighttime in downtown Detroit. And then, of course, the Red Sox have their opener. That's always been an afternoon game. And the weekends they're going to try to have during the day because it's warmer. I mean, and they know that a lot of these games in April can be very cold, especially if it's at night. So that's my long-winded answer to your questions.
So I like it. I like, because to me, baseball is the ultimate background sport. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. That's how I enjoy baseball. I'm doing work. I have it on in the background.
That's
I go
fair.
to lunch. I have it on in the next room, whatever. That's how I like watching baseball.
Right.
So I like having it. It's funny. I either like the day games. I actually love the 10 o'clock games. I do, because
10 a.m. You mean 11 a.m.
10 p.m.
Oh,
I love the day games and I love the 10 p.m. games, because there's only a handful of people watching. You're all on Twitter. It feels like you're watching together. There's always one that goes 14 innings and you pride yourself on staying up the whole time. 7 o'clock starts don't do it for me. That's the one. I don't know.
You're like a 12-year-old talking baseball.
Exactly.
That's why I love having you on, Alex.
I see sports like a 12-year-old. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah,
I still have my Nomar bat. I still have my metal Nomar bat that I bought a week before he got traded. Yeah.
Well, that's it. You're all done with me for the week?
Am I?
Yeah. Well, I'm just giving you your forum to say, ask me any questions, or you want to get something off your chest, Red Sox related or not Red Sox related. Your choice.
How'd the Reds start?
They have started pretty well. 2-2, split a series in Atlanta against the defending World Series champion. I'm going to tell you all, everybody watching this podcast, get to know Hunter Greene. He is more than just a great baseball picture in the making. He is what the face of baseball desperately needs. And when you watch Hunter Greene talk, you're going to think one person, and that's Tiger Woods. Same demeanor, same confidence. And he's got that same family support behind him. He is something special. Get to know Hunter Greene. He is not just a great talent, 101 miles an hour, easy on the black, on the corners. But he really has a way about him that is incredibly unique. So get to know Hunter Greene.
Yeah, I forgot that he made his debut. I like, if a pitcher throws 102, I don't necessarily care if it's accurate. If a pitcher throws 102, I'm into it. Amir Garrett, right? Former Red.
Yep.
Jordan Hicks, another one. Anybody throws gas like that. It sounds like Greene can control it as well. So that's super fun. Yeah, I'm kind of into the Reds this year. Not as much as last year, because I was a Castellanos guy, but cool uniforms, cool ballpark. They got a couple players I like. I'm a big Colin Moran guy. So
yeah, and he had a big hit on Sunday in their win over the Braves. He played third base, by the way. And I will tell you this, their owner, Bob Castellini, it's opening day here as we record this in Cincinnati. That is a civic holiday in Cincinnati. It is, obviously baseball's first professional franchise dating back to 1869. And they celebrate it in style here with a parade and all the trimmings, if you will. But Castellini took a lot of grief for essentially trading away Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez to Seattle for a pitching prospect, and letting, as you mentioned, Castellanos walk in free agency to the Phillies. I didn't hate it. as much as a lot of fans who love to hate on the Reds because they haven't won, like the Bengals hadn't won a playoff game in 31 years, the Reds haven't won in a long time now as well. And a lot of fans are clamoring for Castellini to sell the team. This Reds team is going to overachieve and I think surprise a lot of people. I would keep my eyes on this club if I were a baseball fan looking for a team to follow kind of under the radar in 2022.
All right, there you go.
Yep, that's my diatribe and my soapbox address for this edition of Red Sox Beat on the CLNS Media Network. I want to thank everybody for downloading today's podcast. Thank our great guest, as always, the inimitable Alex Barth. Follow him on Twitter at Real Alex Barth, all one word.